live in Philly now, but you're not originally from there.
Live in Philly. I grew up in Pittsburgh. I was born in California, moved around a few times as a kid, but moved to Pittsburgh when I was in like second grade. Grew up there. That's,
Gotcha.
to me, that's my hometown.
Gotcha.
And then I moved to Philly in 2012 to go to college. I went to Temple University.
Okay.
And that's kind of where everything started for me in terms of DJing, producing, all of that. And so I'm coming up on about 10 years, I think, being in Philly now.
Excellent. And you said, where'd you grow up?
So Pittsburgh. So basically like second grade through, and I did a year of community college in Pittsburgh. So I stayed back that freshman year, transferred to Temple in Philly as a sophomore.
Gotcha.
And been here ever since.
Nice.
Never looked back.
Was it just like your parents had a job out there or something? You guys had to move, or?
Yeah, so my dad, we moved around a little bit because of his job, but he grew up in Pittsburgh in the same town that I grew up in. So it was like he moved back to be closer to his parents and his family, and that's why we were there. But I think it was kind of good for me to kind of leave and go start my own life somewhere else.
Just because I'm from the West Coast, and I don't think I've actually ever been that far east. How far is that?
Like from Philly to Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
So it's like 5 hours, so it's clearly in the same state. They're on the opposite sides of the state. But early on, I was always taking buses back and forth, which like were mad long. And then late, like a couple years into being in Philly, the buses like added stops between. So it would take like most mega buses or Greyhounds would take like 8 hours.
Holy shit.
Because they do like 3 stops and it would take forever. So I got a car here eventually, but
nice.
I'm used to that travel, and now it doesn't bother me to drive home like the 5 and a half hours.
I bet now that you're flying out for shows and stuff like that, like you're very much used to that process of getting on a bus or a plane or same kind of concept.
Yeah, I'm used to it. I mean, we all get on that. We start traveling, and we're like, all right, there's always hassles, but make music, relax, try to enjoy it. But it's never really bothered me, the travel aspect.
Yeah. What was the scene like? I mean, I know Subtronics, Jesse's from that area, but what is the scene really like out there?
Philly is amazing. The scene is very big. I mean, for me, I don't think I could have gotten to where I'm at now just staying in Pittsburgh.
Right.
A big part of that just being the scene here in Philly from your 50 cap, maybe not cap, but like 50 to 100 person small shows,
right,
at a bar here, to the biggest dubstep acts. There's a few main promoters besides like Live Nation and stuff like that. There's a lot of opportunity to play and perform and grow into that and kind of build in the city. So one, in that aspect, it's really nice. 2, you seem to have artists from, I just started making music this year to a Subtronics. And then in between, it seems like there's always, what I've noticed from Philly, every year or two, whether it's dubstep or, EDM in general or rap, someone is blowing up.
That is a big scene there too. The rap scene is pretty big over there.
It's very big. It's a large city. There's just so much going on. I always say, like, my time at Temple, I almost cherish and value everything I was doing outside of school, getting into the music scene, the hip hop scene, the EDM scene, DJing, producing, just the connections early on when you're not even thinking of that. You're just kind of diving into a new city and a new scene and figuring it out. It all has just built for me where I'm at now. It's stuff where I look back and I'm like, that was, these were things that kind of just pushed me the next step, or just like, but Philly has been amazing for me in that regard. And then past that geographically, New York's 2 hours. DC and Baltimore are an hour. Virginia, where I was at, was a little south of DC yesterday, but that was 3 hours. So it's like you can. I think at the early stages where it's really tough to get paid well in this industry for shows, where you're making like maybe get $100 or something like that to go play. You can go do it feasibly. I can go play in New York. Like I've played Brooklyn and probably, I don't know, probably the past 4 years, I mean, COVID and everything, but like I played Brooklyn and kind of around New York like 10, 15 times since I've been Brainrack and everything. So you can catch a $10 bus to go up there, and you have friends stay in apartments. So it's like not a lot of people who maybe live in a rural area. I'm even like, come to Philly, or I'll try and help you get a show here, because I know people and there is a lot of opportunity where some places there's not opportunities at all, versus maybe you have the giant tours that come through your city, but not a lot of places have, I think, this network to grow as an artist, like Philly does.
Other than like LA. I mean, LA is
there's so granted, Philly's not the only place that, there's clearly hubs for EDM, dubstep, hip hop, whatever it is. This is just kind of unique to my story, I think what has helped me grow to where I'm at, and still now, able to just go, around, and maybe I don't need to press the promoter for a flight here. I can just go drive a couple hours and make it easy, stuff like that.
That is nice. Yeah, like I said, I'm not from there, and I've never really been there for shows. I didn't really know how to see it.
Where are you from? I know you said you're on the West Coast.
I'm from Northern California, like Sacramento, Bay Area now, but But it seemed like you in 2018 is really when your career really started to gain some traction. What was that process like? I mean, that's quite a few years between 2012 and 2018.
Around the 2018 time, this was cool. I was there used to be this record label called Bad's Dope Records, THAZ, run by Spankalicious. They were like a Midwest kind of based label. They basically took me on a tour in 2018 where we did, I think, 13 stops from St. Louis to Oakland, where I played like the Wormhole Entertainment, those guys. I played their show, and then we all went up to the UNS Festival and played there to finish out.
UNS is like my backyard, so
yeah. And that was an amazing experience. I mean, this was like basically, no guarantee of pay. Like maybe we got $20 a day for food, like not every day, but we were like, 10 people jammed in 1 or 2 hotel rooms, like all jammed in cars. However, it was like probably the most amazing time of my life, I would have to say. And I was kind of, stuff happened, and, everything wasn't, sunshine and flowers. I was kind of prepared for that. I was expecting the worst, and knew that, like, we're playing like 50 to like 100 most of the time. People, just a few shows we had a couple hundred, and it was just like, I just felt blessed to be able to go have that opportunity and get out there like that. But that was like my first time really getting out nationally, versus like I was just on the East Coast.
Local area.
Maybe had played, I played all around Philly, maybe New York, maybe some smaller festivals around here, but nothing on that scale. And that was cool because I also played in Brooklyn the night before I had to go to St. Louis. So it was kind of like started in Brooklyn for that tour and ended up in California, which was, at that time, I was small. Maybe I had an EP or 2 out. So, I've been releasing music for a couple of years, but it was like, maybe I didn't have businesses going on tour yet, but it was definitely a bunch of smaller artists where like the year before they did that tour, and that was like Easy Bake's first tour. So it's like a lot of artists like that. Like I was with Salty and Smokestacks, if you're familiar, Patches, a whole group of other, guys with us on that tour. And it was a blessing. And then I kind of thought that was going to be my route with that label for a little bit. But shortly after the tour, we don't need to get into it, but stuff happened with the owner, and the label kind of dissipated. And I was kind of on my own, no man. He was like my first manager, and stuff. Maybe I had some friends managing me before, but I was like, okay, now I'm back on my own. And then I think in 2019 was when my current manager.
You went on tour with COD Dubs right after.
So yeah, it was like a weekend tour. We did like 3 dates. So not that it wasn't a tour, but in my mind, I didn't associate it.
It wasn't like a 3-month big tour.
Matt is a homie. He is currently killing it. Has always been killing it. We, I think, talked a little on social media before that, but had a great weekend. Played like, I think, 2 PA dates and somewhere in Jersey or something like that. So that was kind of like everything was going well. And then I think I had shortly after that linked up with my new manager, Josh, who is one of the owners of Unlocked Presents.
Okay.
And then the pandemic happened. I had just gotten one of my biggest shows in Philly. It was like, I think February with Buku or something like that. And then it was like the next week or two after that, everything shut down. It was like we had already kind of been hearing stuff, but no one really knew. And then it was like 2 weeks later, everything was shut down.
That sucks.
So it was tough. I mean, I was able to stay pretty consistent through the pandemic with releases.
Did you play a lot of live streams and stuff during the pandemic?
Live stream was tough for me. I tried to, and I seem to always have an issue. I would say that some stuff with technology I have a hard time with. I'm definitely tech savvy, but there's things like, it just seemed like something was always going wrong, some little thing, and we couldn't figure it out. So I stopped agreeing to like doing it live, and I was like, I'll record it for you. And so I did like one or two like that, but it was just tough. Like for me, like, not that I need to get paid for every opportunity, but a lot of these live streams don't pay, and I put like a lot of time into these sets and making it like the best I can be, especially for something like that. And it just got to a point where I was like, dude, I just can't do this. You know, I can't really entertain these offers, and like I wanted to for some stuff, and I was like, granted, you know, if some massive label, you know, the big leagues wants me to do a live stream or something that's worth it, like I'm gonna do it. But it would just seem to be a lot of small stuff that I'm like, let's just pass on this right now. I want to keep writing and just kind of stay in this flow. And so during the
pandemic, then you were really focused on like producing, which you produced a lot. You did a lot of cool releases on Subsidia, and you did an EP. You did your EP with GRVDNCR during that time. So that was more your main focus during like a lot of people. But some people really started, you know, look at, I mean, even more Kismet, they started when you know, doing the live streams and stuff, they were producing, but I think the live stream and like during the pandemic, they were able to use that time by doing live streams to really like start their project and gain traction.
Oh yeah, and I think if you're able to I don't know, it's just what I was getting offered. It was just like, yeah, I'm gonna reach some people, but it was nothing like, yo, this is gonna like, you know, in terms of PR marketing, like this is gonna be a big jumper. Like, hey, we have this great idea for this. We're gonna get a bunch of eyes on you. Like, it was just never something like, and not that it needs to be. You know, I'm not massive. I don't necessarily, you know, I'm not like sitting here like, oh, how could you offer me this small live stream? But it got to a point where I'm like, this is stressing me out more than it needs to, or than I need to even deal with it. And let's just keep making music and just keep moving forward. And that's where the drive-ins kind of started to come in, where I did get a few drive-ins, which was nice. It kind of filled out some of that time. So I was like, let's just forget it, you know, with the live streams. I was like, let's just move forward, and shows will hopefully be back soon.
I think it was a smart move though, that you were able to focus solely on producing there at that time, because then that really, like, you started releasing on some bigger labels, and like that really gave you another push in a different way than that play.
I needed, so like before that I had a release with Subcarbon, which was my first like bigger label release. But
shout out Ganja White Knight, I freaking love those guys.
Yeah, no, I feel that was awesome. I was like, you know, at first I was like, this is crazy, I got my first release. And the Subsidia thing has been it's not just a thing, but Subsidia has been a huge thing for a huge opportunity for me, which for me, that all came with a well-timed email. I had no idea about the label. I've had Excision's email for a long time, and I was waiting for to be like, okay, this song is good. Like, let's send it to him, or like, you know, and kind of introduce myself. And I think what happened was, it was that July, I don't know, 2019 or something like that, or sometime June, July, maybe a little earlier. I finished the with Shizlo. And I sent Jeff a personal email. I said, hey, Jeff, I've been a big fan forever, since like your first Shambhala mix. And then I had seen him in Pittsburgh. It was like my second EDM show in 2010. And I was like, I saw you open up for Mastercraft, if you remember them.
Oh, yeah.
He literally opened up for them and was on like a fold-out table with no production. Like, no, you could see his feet. Like, there was no anything. And like, not even like there was a light wall, but it wasn't a video wall. It was just dots that would light up.
Gotcha, yeah.
So it was very cool to see where he's taken his project from there. And
Literally
then for me to be kind of introducing myself, I wanted to just do some sort of a personal email. You know, I didn't like beat his ear down with a novel. Right. But then was just like, hey, just finished. I'm a producer in Philadelphia. Just finished this new song with my boy Shizlo. And he emailed me back about a week later, listened to it, downloaded it, and was like, he was like, OG fam, thanks for sending, like, love the track.
That's sick.
And so I was like, cool, now I'm going to keep sending him music, you know, keep that dialogue open. No idea about the label or anything like that.
Right.
A month later, I had Click Clack and Whip My Crew done. So I was like, all right, I'm going to email. I sent a promo out, you know, to a bunch of people, and I was like, hey, Jeff, just finished some new stuff up. Want to send your way. Week goes by, it's like midnight. I get a message or email back from him. He goes, hey, I would love to sign this to a project I'm working on. Let me know your interest. Let me know if you're interested, with a smiley face. I was like, I freaked out. I like shot up out of my, I was like watching a movie. I like started screaming, called Focus. I was like, bro, I was like, I don't know what's going on, but Excision wants something, you know? And that was how it all happened. I mean, it's you never know. You never know. And I was just like, there was the right place, right time, and right music. You know what I mean?
Power of building and cultivating relationships too.
Yeah, I mean, it just so even for producers out there, like I send tons of promo emails and no one listens or whatever, but you just keep sending him, because I mean, for me, it was like he was the one person who was listening at first. Like he would answer my stuff, and it was just like, even if people don't answer, you know, maybe don't keep emailing them all the time, but just like be persistent, just keep going. There's going to be so many no's. There's going to be so many unanswered emails. There's going to be, you know, all of that stuff.
It's basically relates to like almost like a sales thing, where like it's just numbers.
Oh my gosh! I mean, with current state of social media and just everything I'm doing in that project, like, I'm in that mindset of like, okay, I need to push this piece of content out, like DM it to everyone, like get it out to, you know, do whatever I can to get my stuff out there, you know, and there's ways to do it and not be annoying and like, you know, pestering someone, but you know, you figure it out along the way.
Absolutely.
For sure.
I want to touch on your Brainwashed mix series.
Totally.
How did that come about? What was your idea behind that?
So I don't really put, like, some people ask me, to put my Lost Land set out, and I didn't record it. And if I end up playing it again this year, I'm gonna record it just because it was asked for.
Yeah.
I don't really like put my sets out there on the internet, and not that I'm not like, oh, you can't, you can't hear my set unless you come see me. It is kind of like that. I'm like, yeah, come see me. Like I put a lot of work into this, and you know, it's a whole experience. Like it's like I'm, you know, it's a DJ set, but it's like, I come with a lot of raw emotion with my performance.
I was gonna touch on that too. Is you have a lot of freaking energy when you're performing. Your stage presence is so sick. I like watching you perform. So
thank you. And it's something that has developed over time, and it's something that I put a lot of thought into, and I like try to be as present as I can while I'm up there and showing all of that and conveying the emotions, and you know, just being that more relatable to the crowd. But so Brainwashed, I was like, I want to just do like an ID mix series, like show my original or like my new unreleased stuff that's coming up, put my other releases in there, do like a 20-minute mix. I had called my Facebook group Brainwashed. My branding is like not too deep in terms of meaning, but it's more like the aesthetic, and it's just, I love it. I think it really works. But it was like, hey, I want to put my unreleased music out there and kind of build hype on that. And I was like, why don't I do a mix series called Brainwashed? And basically my thought right now is like, I'm probably going to drop up to volume 5.
Okay.
And that'll probably happen over the next 2 years. Those next 3 will come out. And then I might stop, is my thought. I mean, maybe I keep going, but like, I think it'll be at another step of my career. But for right now, I think it's a good way to like build a little more hype. People know the IDs that are coming. There's a little more, you know, anticipation for them. Where I'm not always releasing consistently, you know, I think it helps in the interim. For me, it's like one of my pieces of thing. Okay, we don't have a release for a month or two. Let's drop the new IDs. Let's put it in there, and it's just like, you know, a part of like my overall content strategy that I'm kind of have for this next couple years. And yeah, I think it's been recepted pretty well. And then it does give those people who do want to listen to a mix, because I get it. Like, just because I don't necessarily want to put it out there,
when we're
people still
driving
like
in,
it. Fans
yeah,
of
we're at
mine,
the gym,
anyone
yeah.
who likes this music, you know, they like to listen to mix. They go to a gym, they want to listen to mix.
Yeah.
You know, I totally get it. So at least there's something there, and like, you know, I was like, okay, if I end up playing Lost Lands this year again, I will record my set for sure and put that out there.
Talking a little bit more about that, at Lost Lands, I just wanted to touch on like your experience there.
Yeah,
I didn't see your set at Lost Lands, but which stage did you play on?
Were you there?
I was.
Okay, cool. I played the Subsidia stage, which was sick. Like, were you over there at all during the weekend?
Yeah. I saw Stone Level there. I saw a couple other guys there.
That first off was insane. I mean, that stage was as big as like 3 of my childhood homes. Like, I mean, if not more. Like, it was
just for a side stage.
Me, like, and then even like Raptor Alley, where like Matt, like Cod Dubs, Bainbridge, like people like that played. Like, to me, I mean, every stage was perfect when you were in it. There was no complaints there, but I was like, dude, Excision really hooked it up for the label stage. I mean, it was way bigger than that. And the, you know, included Astro. I mean, it was comparable to the Forest stage, but to me, it was a little more grand and epic for sure.
I'd love they had side panels and it like concaved back behind you with
it was crazy sick. Being up there on stage like that with all of those screens like that. But the stage was so deep, which was really cool. But it was insane. I mean, I'd never been to Lost Lands. To go there and play that like that. I mean, I wasn't on the original lineup. We built a really good relationship with Excision and their managers and their team. And someone had dropped out, so that his manager called mine and was like, "Hey, we want Alex." And I ended up it was like midnight on Sunday. So literally the other nights, main stage ends at midnight. So this night, Excision ended at 11. So it gave an hour for people to come over or go back to their campsite, come back in. Where when I went to the set before, because I just went over there, there was like a couple hundred people, and it was filling in as that set was ending. But by the time I started, there was already like probably 2,000-3,000 people there. But I mean,
so sick.
I believe it was probably like 3,000 to 4,000 people. It looked like, I don't know, but it was like, from what I saw, like mine, Cyber G, Revlo, and maybe a couple other sets were like the biggest shows there.
Revlo threw down.
Yeah, that was crazy. And right when his set started, we were all still up there.
That's sick.
This guy snuck on stage and went up and paused his intro track. I don't know if you saw
No, I did not.
I don't know if you were over there, but like literally got up, paused his track, and literally had to have like 3 security people drag him off stage. And he went and he smacked Revlo's hand in this exchange. It was like, I don't know. I was with John like recently in Philly or something. We were talking about it. It was like such a ridiculous situation. But that was the craziest hour of my life so far. I mean, awesome. It was to me. I think I nailed it. I came with everything I could in terms of all my music, all my homies' unreleased music, like all of that. Like,
do you think that's going to put you in a better position for playing this year?
I am hoping so.
Yeah. I
would hope so.
Yeah.
But I'm also doing my part, but doing like what I can on the other end. We have another release with them coming out next month. And then they have a few other songs. So we're hoping to line up a couple more singles through the summer with Subsidia to kind of be with them. I'm going to be going to the DC Excision show.
Okay.
At the end of March, where Computer and I have a new song. We just started writing it a couple weeks ago. Yeah. So I'm going to go there, and we're going to drop it at Echo Stage together, and I'll go get to, hang out with the team and everything. I still haven't met Excision yet, so I'm hoping to this will be the time where I can go finally meet him and everything. Awesome. But
Echo Stage
my mind is.
Venue.
Oh yeah, I played in DC at a venue across the street this summer, but I still haven't been in Echo Stage at all. But yeah.
Sweet. Through all this time, what do you think one of the main keys to your success has been so far?
So, there's a few things. I would say one, Philly, like we were discussing in the beginning of the podcast, geographically, just everything I've been able to kind of access here, in terms of artists, shows, other markets, anything like that. I would say the time I spent as like a festival kid running around the country essentially and going to shows all over the place, especially when I was early on at Temple and in college. I met a lot of people. I met a lot of people in the back end of the scene, booking, operations, artists, just anything where it was like, maybe we were friends at first, or I was meeting artists early on. Just like, I would say the networking I've done.
Networking is so important.
And
get good at networking. Anyone listening out there, get good
at networking through just like my experiences, like friends I have from like home that are like, I just random people that I've known for my whole life, that if a few different people are kind of like, I don't want to say famous, but different people that are like a little more social media famous or bigger or doing some different things that maybe they're not in dubstep or EDM, but it's been like a little lucrative for me to kind of maybe meet other people in the hip hop scene or things, just stuff that's not necessarily, oh, I met this big dubstep producer and we're going to work. Like I've had kind of a unique life in that sense of just people I've met from Philly and just different related industries of music and art. I've just grinded. I haven't stopped, bro. Yeah, clearly there's times that I've had downtimes and I haven't been writing as much or releasing as much or whatever, but I've been Brainrack for like 6 or 7 years, but I've been writing music for like 9 years. But since Brainrack has been a thing, it's been like consistent
full-time
playing show. Well, no, not full-time job. I have been working other jobs on top of this.
No, I mean like you treat it as a full-time job.
Exactly. Exactly. So in that regard, for the majority of the project, where maybe I'm not playing a show every month and releasing a song every month, but every month or two I'm playing a show. There's music coming out. I'm dropping some merch. I'm like playing some festivals. It's been consistent, which I think people tend to fall off after like maybe 4 or 5 years of things aren't happening, or like for me, I kind of see myself as a 10-year artist where like a little after 10 years, like I'm finally going to be seeing what like I've always wanted, or like getting to that place, if that makes sense. Seeing a little more of the benefits and the stuff come back, just like income, shows, just being, this being like all I have to do, even if I'm just struggling, getting by, that doesn't bother me. I'd rather just do this.
Play the long game. And I think a lot of the successful artists that have had that mindset of playing the long game have been extremely successful. And it really is just consistency and discipline. To get
another thing I think is unique to my situation is I went to school for advertising. I've been in advertising and marketing since then. All through college, I was working with a clothing company, dropping streetwear lines, vending events, vending music festivals with them, like getting integrated in the hip hop scene here. Then we turned it into a rolling paper company. I was a sales manager and doing marketing as well for them. Then I took a year off. I left that company and drove Lyft and just did music, and that's when I went on that tour. Then I worked at a marketing agency for 2 years, doing like everything under the sun. Then I just did about 2 years of freelance work with 2 CBD companies, doing their social media, doing web design, updating their website, just creating content, stuff like that. And now I am kind of taking the leap here this next year. I'm actually about to move back home to Pittsburgh for a year. So I'm just going to focus on music, not have to pay bills, live with mom and dad, and try and take this to the next step. Awesome. So I'm going to come back to Philly after that. But so my point with all that stuff is I've had the marketing, the branding, the content, the social media, just all of that has been in more of a sense of like, I kind of come from that industry and like know how to keep a brand and keep it consistent and to stay, whether I'm not posting, but like just keeping consistency, just having a brand that people now can associate that character with. And I think all of that stuff even supports how I act on stage and just like, it seems like every part of my brand is supporting each other. It all kind of works together. So I'd say that marketing and advertising arm is another thing that's really helped me, where I see kids all the time. It's tough with like a name that I'm like, that's going to get lost in the crowd, or there's no way to really brand it. And even now there's just so many people, it's tough to stand out. So for sure. That's like,
having that full package is, I think, the most important thing. You see all the big guys.
People, I think managers, agents, those bigger opportunities are looking for in people where they're like, hey, you've got not just dope music, you can perform, you've got the branding, your social media is popping off right now, you've got you've got all this stuff. Maybe you don't have something, but like you've got the majority of the pieces, so we can take you and put you in our touring circuit of artists or whatever this looks like, and just let you grow and push your project.
And you got to make yourself marketable.
Well, I think five years ago, you could have a sick remix on SoundCloud and go start touring and blow up. And not that can't still happen, but I think what we're seeing, like with A-Craze, like you almost have to have a song that big now to kind of blow up. And not that someone's not going to notice you for like some bigger song, but like it's much different. The landscape is much different these days.
Most people don't even know that he used to be a dubstep producer too.
Make crazy dubstep, and that's honestly such a success story of seeing that transfer, because I don't think he was getting the love.
Nope.
His music was dope, but I don't,
how long did it take you to figure out what puzzle pieces you need to fit into your Brainrack project? How long was that process? Or
like in terms of just like, maybe I had music and I needed to figure out DJ, or just like what, like, I mean, basically it started from DJing, and I shortly after that year, I was like, dude, I want to be an artist. Like, I gotta make music. Like, I'm not just gonna be a DJ out here. Then I figured out the name. Yeah. Because I was just like a random name. And
where did the name come from?
It's not deep. It was back in, we were messed up at college one time. I remember saying my brain is racked right now. And my friend was like, oh, brain rack. And then when I went to be like, yo, I need a name, for some reason it popped in my mind, and I was like, stuck. So it's really not deep at all.
I think it's sick though. It really relates.
Stands out. I was like, my name is Alex Kennedy, so I used to be A-Ken. That was my nickname. So I was like DJ A-Ken or A-Ken. Yeah. I was like, if that name is on a festival lineup,
it's gonna get lost.
It's nowhere. No, it doesn't mean anything to anyone. My friends know me by it, but what does that mean to an audience or my future fans, or what does that mean? I don't think it's anything to latch onto. So Brainrack, there's a lot of grit in that. There's a lot of stuff that could be behind that, and I think now, like I say, like with this full package. That I believe I have. Granted, there's stuff, there's things I need to do, and I always be growing, but
obviously
my craziness on stage like supports the name, that emotion. The visuals with my Brainrack character typically convey some sort of emotion that I feel like I identify with. Like, all these ideas come from like how I'm feeling or songs that I've written, and I'm like, okay, let's do this with the character. And then I have a guy who I work with. He's one of my friends who does the character, and I come with the idea. He starts with a sketch and then puts it into Illustrator or Photoshop and runs with it from there. But
I was gonna ask, because a lot of your merch stuff is like really on point. I love your merch. It's really
thank you.
All your graphic design stuff is sick.
Yeah, I put a lot of time into so past just like, I think the first question, like, I kind of just each piece I'm like, okay, what's next? The name, okay, we need a branding character, we need this, that. It's all built and come together. For sure. And it just, I think it's maybe even for producers or someone's thinking about this themselves. I always recommend anything you're thinking about, start a Google Doc and just write out what you think you need to figure out. Go research, go talk to people, and just start. If you don't write it down, I have a notebook that I write down everything I need to do for the week. It's like, you write it down. Any idea I have, okay, I want to do a merch drop. I just create a Google Doc and start thinking, what do I want to do? Okay, this is an idea, and just start running with it.
Writing stuff down and brainstorming does so much good.
yeah And so I take my time with those merch drops, and I really like, for me, like, I came from in Pittsburgh, I was in metal and screamo and was going to shows, and so I think where some of my taste with the merch, where it's not maybe this thrash metal crazy graphic, but it's very much like, if you went to a metal show, you'd see this kind of that merch. I think is like what I identify with, but I get inspiration from that, and I just like, I'll probably put some logo stuff out eventually, but I'm very much like, I want to do this cool piece of art and make this thing special and kind of drop. I'll have merch that's always available someday, but I kind of just do these limited drops. So
I was going to ask you about that, because I saw your Instagram story literally today that people have one day left. I mean, by the time this episode goes live,
so for this merch drop, I did a pre-order. So I dropped the pre-order for 2 weeks, and then I'm going to place the order tomorrow, and then everything will be shipped in like 2 weeks or something. But or sometimes I'll like buy the merch up front, but it's tough to put that money up front sometimes, and you don't know if you're going to sell it or not. So where the pre-order is like, dope. Okay, I'm going to buy some more on top of it, but it's like the money's already there, and I don't have to go invest in it. Right. Yeah, no, I'm happy you like the merch. I mean, it's just another arm where I'm like, I feel like I've taken my time to be like, okay, I've got the merch, I've got my website, I got my email list. I'm collecting, people's emails from all these purchases. Like just these things where like as time grows, I'm gonna have my own fat email list of people who there's like 1,000 kids in there that are gonna buy the merch each time I drop it. They're gonna pre-save my song. They're gonna, where right now with social media, just here's a marketing bit.
Yeah.
It's so hard to reach everyone. It's so hard to get through these channels where if you build your own email list or other things like that, you have your own thing to just blast to people.
And at that point, you're running a fully like functioning business too.
They say like it's like when you get your first, it's like we all have a ton of followers on Instagram, but like when you get your first 1,000 like followers that are buying merch, they're pre-saving, they're buying tickets to the show. That's when it's like really like, and if you can control that or like at least have access to that directly with like an email list, it's really smart. And so it's not, I mean, I have a Squarespace website.
Yep.
Put your logo on it, set it up. It's all simple. I mean, it's this stuff where like, go start your LLC, make a website, have a brand, make sure you have all your social media channels. It's just all this stuff where I've learned from marketing and advertising. It's just like, I feel like I look at some other people and maybe they're, most bigger DJs who are really touring clearly have all this stuff. But like, I teach kids lessons, and this is, I'll talk about stuff like this even past just production, because it's in big, like, how do you email an artist? How do you email a label? Like stuff like that. We're like, oh, here, I'll show you. Here's my template. Here's what I do, or like whatever.
It's the business end that no one sees.
Exactly. And so this is where I feel like I have more of a full package of like, I can email properly to anyone. I could go shake hands and talk to any agent or manager and like have a professional be like right on point with them and be like kind of have the wherewithal to know what to say or kind of how to treat that conversation. Like, maybe I don't want to bring this up yet, but like, oh, just hear what they have to say. Whatever that looks like. So I think that's helped me and just like my team. I feel like it's easy to work with me and like get our stuff done. I'm very quick and I'm on top of everything, that I'm doing with the project as much as I can, but So, I think we were answering a few questions within that.
You're good. You've been an amazing guest. Is there anything that you want to, before we wrap up here, is there anything that you want to promote or get out there that's coming up?
I know this will come out. I was going to, the merch drop's going to be over. So that's kind of what I'm promoting. I'm about to drop a lot of music. So 3-2, Eyes Closed VIP on Subsidia. 318, a collab with my friend Redline District, is going to be on Hesh's new label.
Oh, sick. I didn't know he was starting a label.
It's called Fuck Shit. Well, I think they've had the label, but just like he releases on it. Right. But they're dropping a compilation on March 18th. So I'm on that initial compilation on Fuck Shit Records. And then April 6th, I'm self-releasing Complicated, which if you've been through Brainwash Volume 1, it's the song that the merch is based off of.
Okay.
So another example of like I had this song, and I went to the idea of what that merch was.
What was the deciding factor of self-releasing that?
We've been pitching a lot, and it didn't get signed, and we just kind of like didn't hear back from this last label, and I was like, all right, we're still pitching about 4 or 5 songs that were in that batch of songs. Like I'll like take a few different songs and we'll pitch to different people. But I was like, enough. Complicated's coming out. People love it. I love it. It's one of my favorite songs I've made. I'm like, it's coming out, and I had this specific art direction. I'm going to be doing a cool marketing campaign. Going to be doing a little like guerrilla marketing, like on the streets, like doing some cool stuff in a few different cities. Nothing crazy, but this is my marketing mind. I'm I don't just want to post on social media. I want to go out there and do something. So we're about to drop a lot of music.
Awesome.
I'm getting booked on a few festivals, a few shows this summer. So I'm definitely going to be playing a bunch of out-of-state stuff. So there'll be chances for people to kind of see me around.
Hopefully Lost Lanes. I'd love to see you set at Lost Lanes.
Hopefully Lost Lanes. We don't know. I can't guarantee anything, but I'm really hoping, and that's what I'm trying to do my best to just stay with them, send in as much music as I can, and just stick with the Subsidia family because they've done so much for me. Yeah. So that's pretty much all the notable stuff I can talk about, but I'm not stopping. I got a lot of new dope music on the way, a lot of dope collabs.
I think it's so commendable, just the amount of time that you put into this. And everyone who's especially at your level puts in a lot of time. I
You got it. You got it.
But the consistency through the amount of time that you've been doing this is awesome, and it's so inspiring for not only me, but I'm sure the people listening as well. So
yeah,
how can the fans of the show support, or any listeners of the show support you and find you?
So pre-save my music, listen to my music, drop when I do merch drops, stuff like that. I think towards this summer I'm gonna more have like merch that's just like available on my website. But I have like I'm figuring out like a new situation, but so that might be available more regularly. But tickets to shows, and if you want to come see me in your city or want me to come there, talk to your promoters. I mean, it's like you hear everyone talk.
I'll be.
We're always like tag your promoters, but it's like one of the most powerful things.
Yeah.
Like for my sales and marketing background, it's like you need the consumers in that city to be talking about you and asking to see you, for the person who's running those shows to want to invest and bring you there. So I mean,
100%.
Talk to your promoters, tell them about me, buy concert tickets, merch.
I'll be spreading
my songs.
I'll be spreading your name up here in NorCal. So
thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
One final question before we get out of here.
Yeah.
One piece of advice you could tell yourself when you first started the Brainrack project, what would it be and why? I ask this question at every single interview.
Try not to stress too hard about little stuff. And if I feel like I stress about everything, and there's so many times where I've worked myself up and just like over stuff that like within a day or two, it's kind of worked out, or it's like, I didn't need to worry about that. So
don't sweat the small
Don't
stuff.
stress the little things.
Yeah.
Be easy on yourself. Making music is difficult. Getting in this business is not easy. It's very grim.
Yeah.
The more you get into it and see what really goes on in the background.
Yeah.
And just try and have fun and just keep going. If this is what you want, just keep going. Have fun, and it'll come to you. It'll just and put the good energy in there.
Awesome.
But yeah, I think that's it. And I really appreciate you having me on the show. It means the world.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on.
Of course.